Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of the Big Apple School podcast, where the object of this show is to help you improve your listening skills, and we can also discuss interesting topics. So today we're going to discuss the topic of music, and we have three wonderful guests. Our first guest is
Ken from the Philippines.
And
Katya.
And Maria.
So welcome. So music, guys. Are you guys music people?
Well, it depends on what we mean, but I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to listen to music. I can't perform music. I can't compose music, but I like listening to it.
Well, when I ask, are you a music person? Do you regularly buy music? Do you listen to music?
Buy music? Remember where we are. Come on.
But we still can.
Yep. Okay.
I do. I do.
So
Well,
what?
actually, for example, as for me, I don't really listen to music. So
So how often do you listen to music?
I don't know, like once every couple of weeks.
Okay, so
Something
once in a
like
blue
that.
moon.
Right.
Yep. It's a good.
Very interesting.
Yep.
So
So
is that an unspoken question? Like, what the hell are you doing here then?
yeah. Well, okay, it's not a problem. So once every 2 weeks, and how do you listen to music usually?
Well, I do have some sort of a playlist with the songs from like years and years back. So I very rarely update it. So when I usually listen to it when I have a walk. So I try to walk more now that it's summertime, you know. So, and when I'm kind of tired of podcasts or something like that, I just listen to some music. So
And do you listen to music with lyrics?
you mean I listen and read? No, since I do it, you know, while I'm on the walk.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to do, you know, unless you want to bump into somebody or...
Well, the reason why I'm asking about lyrics is because some people like to use music with lyrics to improve their language skills. I mean, when you were learning English when you were learning English, did you use music to help you with your English?
As for me, probably I didn't, but I still remember some songs by heart because I tried to translate them. For example, I still remember The Show Must Go On by Queen by heart because I once had an attempt to translate it.
Yeah.
Aw.
Mm-hmm.
With music, actually, it's fun because I don't listen to music much these days, but that's how I started learning English back in the day.
Yeah.
So I really got into some music like 3 Days Grace, you know, all that pop punk of 2007 and everything. And that's how I got interested in English.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no idea what they're singing about. So,
But it sounds good,
but
right?
it did. Yeah. So that's how I started my English journey. Who would have thought?
You know, it's interesting how they use music to learn a language. Whereas in my case, I'm still trying to learn Russian my own way. I don't go to any, Russian course. I even tried to memorize some songs. I don't know exactly what they're about, but I know the lyrics. Like, Bolna ni будет с неба вода, мы счастливы. Wait, one sec. Мы счастливы люди подошли без зонта. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing the words correctly, but it's a song by Alexeyev called Навсегда, which translates to English as forever. You see?
Well, the thing that's interesting is that in English, a lot of songs do not make sense.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with it. Whereas in
That's
other
the thing.
cultures...
I guess it's any language.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily, because I've heard, I don't study Japanese, I've never learnt Japanese, but there's a famous YouTuber who is called Matt versus Japan, and he discusses how he learnt Japanese at a really high level. And he interviewed this American guy who also speaks excellent Japanese. And he is a famous singer in Japan. And he noted that in Japan, the lyrics of songs make sense. They tend to have a linear storyline, and you can follow along with most
Maybe
songs.
it depends on the genre, because if it is a pop song, it doesn't necessarily make any sense. It just should have a catchy rhythm and tune and simple rhyming.
Right.
Well, this guy he interviewed, he is kind of like a pop genre. He's like a Japanese celebrity, but most... I do agree. Yeah, most pop songs make absolutely no sense
They're
whatsoever.
stupid. I mean,
And also sometimes it can be dangerous to try to study a language by using songs, for example, in English, because they can have mistakes. Maybe deliberate mistakes, maybe accidental mistakes. And that's what I sometimes tell my students, like to pay attention to this.
True.
For example, once I was teaching this, second conditional, and I said like, you cannot use, I don't remember how I put it. Like you can't use would after if. Like you can't say if I would, because it goes into two separate clauses. But then a student told me about a song by the group Alice in Chains, and he was like, it says this. And
Explain this.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, it's for the sake of poetry.
Right.
Well, it's like, all those he don't and so on.
Right.
Well, the rap genre really makes a lot of use of the continuous and of other structures. For instance, I be like this. And it doesn't make sense.
I'ma be like this.
Well, it'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Or, for example, state verbs. For example, love, it's supposed to be a state verb. You can't use it in the continuous form, but a lot of singers sing like, I'm loving you, I'm still loving you, and so on.
Right.
And I'm like, you can use it in songs, but not in an exam.
Yeah. And the thing when teaching grammar, there's another thing to notice is that some rules are meant to be broken. So
yeah, that's kind of frustrating because I studied traditional grammar, and sometimes whenever I explain a grammatical item, I really make that clear. Well, it used to be like this, and it should be like this, in my opinion. But
before you break
evolves.
the rules, you should learn the rules.
Yeah. And music has evolved the way people speak in many ways. Mm-hmm. So modern English is basically just rap music, if you think about it. Yeah. So guys, enjoy your lyrics, enjoy listening to songs, but use it mainly for vocabulary. Maybe don't use it for sentence structures or for other things.
That's a good tip, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially the Beatles. I mean, the stuff they love their songs, but the stuff they sing about is absolutely crazy if you think about it.
You mean the themes?
Yeah, the themes, and it just everything is disjointed, meaning that things are not easy.
They were experimenting a lot.
Absolutely. For instance, Maxwell's Silver Hammer. Like, do you know that song? Bang, bang, Maxwell, Silver Hammer. Be sure that he was dead. I mean, most of these songs were, maybe they were on drugs or something. And yeah, so use it for vocabulary, not for
grammar.
For grammar necessarily. Okay, well, did any of you learn to play an instrument as a child?
I did not. And I'm very surprised, and I feel a true respect for people who can play, who can make some sounds with the help of an instrument. It's like, for me, it's just wow.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I said, okay, sign me up. I'm going to go to classes and I'm going to play piano. And then I think I went to one single class and said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. So we already have one person in my family. So that's my sister. She's a pianist. And back in the day, she was actually choosing what to major in, music or math. Mm-hmm. And she was seriously contemplating that. So when she chose math, but she still plays, she still knows her thing with piano.
Right. And do you know what it means to sight read? Can she read a musical score and just play the piano just by reading the musical score? It sounds really strange to sight read, because obviously you read using sight. Sounds funny, but that means you can play the piano if someone just gives you a musical score and you can just play the piano.
The score, it's like all those.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, wow. So she can just play, if you just put the score in front of her, she can just play from sight.
12 years of music school and music college. Yeah, she can.
That's impressive. Yeah.
She has lost some of her skills. So, for example, she used to be able to play Rachmaninoff, which is one of the most difficult pieces to play in general, because he had incredibly long fingers. You know that with one hand he could cover 11 keys on a piano. So she used to be able to play some of his pieces, and now since she hasn't practiced as much as she used to, she cannot. But still, yeah, you put that in front of her, she can play.
So if you have small hands, maybe you could just buy long fingernails or something to improve your piano finesse.
Have your piano customized for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Little
Baby
keys.
piano. Yeah, when I was a kid, my parents made me do piano lessons. And actually, it was at the start, I hated it. And then later, I quite enjoyed it. To start with, I had a teacher who was very strict. And whenever I made a mistake on the piano, she would grab my finger and
break it.
Yeah, break it and put it on the right key.
And that did it discourage you?
To be honest, I didn't really want to
well,
to
in
play
the
it.
first place.
Yeah, in the first place. Then later on, I enjoyed it more and more. But do you feel it's useful to give children a education with musical instruments, or do you think it's just not particularly important?
I just believe that any education is useful and it develops your brain. So if a child or a person has an ear to music, then yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't, why?
Just don't force them.
Yeah, that's a good one. In general, it should be voluntary. If a kid wants to, let them do that. But if they don't force them into doing anything. When I was growing up, I didn't have any sort of hobbies. I didn't go to any sort of like art classes, music, sport, nothing like that. Well, I prefer to believe that I turned out fine.
Yeah, very cultural. Yeah, you like arty stuff. Yeah. Well, what are your favorite instruments?
I would say the piano, the guitar, the violin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, do you know what the difference is between a violin and a viola?
Viola is a bigger one, isn't it?
I think it's smaller actually.
A viola?
Or is it? I don't know. Let us know in the comments.
Viola, cello.
Cello is a
violin.
big one. So cello you put. Oh, okay.
So cello's the big one. Double bass is even bigger. And then I don't know the difference between the violin and the viola in terms of size. Well, guys, let us know in the
I think
comments.
it's
We need
bigger.
a musician to let us know. So yeah. Well, my favorite instruments are the Spanish guitar.
In terms of the sound.
The sound, in terms of the
Yeah,
sound.
guitar sounds cool.
Wait,
Spanish guitar.
What is the difference between guitar and Spanish guitar?
Strings, yeah? How many
Yeah,
strings?
it's the type of strings, I believe.
Like Spanish guitar has 7 strings, no?
I'm not too sure actually, but I just love the sound of it.
Okay, yeah.
Sounds
I'm
great.
bad at counting, so I...
And what's the difference between a accordion, bayan and accordion? What's the difference between those two?
I think the accordion has more buttons or
Yeah.
whatever you call them.
So do they have the circular buttons?
Yeah, I think so.
Accordion,
And bayan, I think it has the rectangular ones.
Yeah. So in English we just say an accordion, but
I guess accordion comes from probably France.
yeah. So I like the sound of the accordion. It sounds pretty nice. Also, do you know what the harpsichord is?
The what?
Harpsichord.
I'm trying to remember how it looks like.
It's like it's
Is
a
it
piano. It's a piano.
okay.
It's a type of piano, but it has like a
Oh.
more kind of stringy sound to it.
I was thinking of something else.
Yeah.
I'm very bad with names of music instruments, to be honest.
So to be honest, none of us here are experts, but yeah, let us know if you've seen it.
Let's move on to the
Yeah.
next topic because
It's like, what about the preferences, the genres, all that?
we're
Come on.
talking about something that we're not experts of or like not knowledgeable.
Well,
of.
maybe you're an expert on karaoke. Are you a karaoke expert?
You know, what's funny is even though my voice is terrible, and I admit that I sound like a dying cat when I sing, but I love singing. I love going to karaoke. I used to have 100 as a score, but that was when I was a kid. But I don't even believe in it. I mean, I don't know that it's really 100, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well, you have mentioned in many of our episodes that you are a fan of karaoke. So when was the last time you actually went to karaoke?
Well, I think that was before the pandemic, 2019. The Kakao Lounge, if you know this place.
3 years.
Yeah.
3. Oh,
But there's karaoke at home. I mean, you know, I sing every day, so.
Do you sing in the shower and?
Not in the shower, but, well, in my living room while preparing for my lesson.
is the
or
acoustics better?
Yes.
So why is karaoke so popular in Russia?
Is it though?
It is. Yeah, there are many karaoke bars. I mean, outside my window from my apartment, there's a karaoke bar and it's very popular here.
I think I remember it used to be really popular when they started to sell those. You know, you would buy a CD, you would buy, you know, this sort of a book, you know, with the numbers and codes and everything. And then you would just install everything in your own apartment and you would enjoy it and your neighbors would totally hate it. I remember at least in Yakutia when I was a kid, that was so popular when it just appeared.
Well, I guess because
Everyone
it's so
went
cold
crazy.
outside and people need something to do.
You know, you gather, you have a gathering, you have a drink, and then you're like, you know what can be a good idea? Just sing.
Yeah.
Maybe Russian people were at some point interested in the Japanese culture because we like sushi, we like karaoke. I don't know. Maybe it is kind of interconnected.
Perhaps. Yeah. So are you a good singer, Katya?
I actually used to go to singing classes for like a year.
All right.
But I wouldn't say I am. Like, I mean, I can, but I don't think I'm a good singer.
I'm thinking if it can help us as teachers. I just think that if we develop our voices, it can help us be better at, holding classes. Probably.
Entertaining students.
Because like can do warm up before your lesson. So you sing and then you come to class and you perform in another way.
And believe it or not, I sometimes sing during the lesson, whether my students like it or not. It's, you know, they have no choice.
To be honest.
Because sometimes I try to relate it to a certain song. So if there's a topic and then I remember a song and then I try to sing it to them. The others, they're kind of amused. They give me a smile. I don't know what the smile is about. I hope it's...
that's cool smile. Oh God, please stop smile.
Have they ever sung along?
Yes, for others who recognize the song, because sometimes I sing a song, it's popular, but the others like, what song is that? and then I tell them, okay, because maybe I'm not singing it properly, let me just play it to you. So, I mean, then they recognize, that song. Yeah.
It can be a really useful tool. I mean, when I was learning very, very, very basic Russian, I came to Krasnodar and I did a little Russian course. And the teacher was this older lady who sang little children's songs like "Mili ty moi, возьми меня с собой."
Oh, this is not a children's song.
It's not a children's song.
It's a folk song.
Well, okay, so she sang that to us and that song got stuck in our heads.
You know, I actually have a story. So, you know how in American universities, before the beginning of the semester, you have some sort of a fair where, you know, the representatives of different departments stand and they answer questions of potential students and everything. And we were there with a professor of mine. So, you know, presenting the courses at the Russian department. And there was a girl who came, you know, to the stall. And she's like, you know what? I've always wanted to study Russian. We were like, oh, that's cool. Well, coming in. If you actually get to Wellesley, please do. And we're like, why? And she said, my mom used to sing this song to me. And she remembers the song. And she has no idea what it is. But she actually remembers the lyrics and everything. And she sang it to us. And I'm like, oh my God, how did you even learn that without having zero knowledge of a language? And then she enrolled into our Russian 101 course because of that. And once we were having like a Russian dinner or something. And she's like, Katya, I need your help. There is this song my mom used to sing to me as well. I don't remember the lyrics, but I do remember the tune. And she started to sing it. And it took about 2 days for me to understand what the song was because I couldn't remember. You know, it was kind of, you know, on the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't remember what it was. And then I remembered. And I'm like, I think I know what song it is. And I turned it on. She was crying.
Wow.
Over that. She's like, yes, that is it. And in the beginning, you know, the songs that her mom used to sing to her were the reason she got enrolled in a Russian course. Oh.
Yeah. How lovely.
It is.
So, but you said that songs can stick in people's heads.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And why do they stick in people's heads? It's because there's a big emotional connection to songs. And if you can use the same approach with vocabulary, it can really help you remember more and more words.
This is how I remembered the Japanese numbers from 1 to 10 because we were taught a song, actually, Happy Birthday. Ich, ni, san, yon, like from the melody of Happy Birthday to You. So it helps in remembering words.
Yeah.
Well, some songs stick, you know, because of the tune. It's just so, you know, So nice. You have-
Catchy, yeah.
Yeah, they're so catchy. I think there is even a word for that, like an earworm. When the word, when the song gets stuck in your head, you're like, you can't just stop singing or humming or whatever.
Yeah.
You can't get it out of your head.
Well, I mean, when you think about words that you just remember for some random reason, it's because there is some kind of emotional connection to it. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I was thinking a while ago, why do I remember the word огнетушитель? And I never use this, but for some reason...
You're emotionally attached?
There must be some kind of emotional attachment
Okay, firstly,
to the
what does that mean?
fire extinguisher.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't
From
really-
a song?
From a song or from something, but trying to relate how music sticks in your head to remembering vocab in languages. And I just thought, I never use this word. Why do I remember it?
For some reason, you just remember
And
it.
you must have been in a certain place at a certain time. There must have been a certain smell in the air or something that stimulates your emotions or brain waves or something. And that's why words stick in your head sometimes. And if you can't remember a word, you have to find a way to give it some kind of emotional stimulation,
Right.
whether it be through music or through other methods like, I don't know, torturing yourself or or something like that. Yeah. Well, moving on. So as a teenager, who are your favorite bands and artists?
Oh my God. Backstreet Boys, of course. Spice
Should have
Girls.
seen that coming, huh?
NSYNC.
Yeah.
I love them. Oh, and this Danish band called Michael Learns to Rock. They're only popular in Scandinavia and Asia. Unfortunately, not all over the world, but they have
pop?
soft rock, pop rock songs.
Do they still exist?
They're still active, yeah. But from 4 to 3 because one left the band. As usual, like the case in most bands.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So soft rock.
It was when you were like, what? 13 or something?
Even earlier, when I was 6, 7.
Aww.
And how did you listen to them? Did you use CDs or tape cassettes or?
From the radio.
Yeah.
And eventually when my mom got to Japan and, you know, we could afford to buy CDs, of course, through CDs and cassette tapes eventually.
Yeah.
But before, just the radio because we couldn't afford to buy cassette tapes or CDs.
We remember all stages of music, cassettes, CDs, and
MP3 and
Yeah. I remember when I had my very, very first MP3 player. It was amazing. I was, 14, 13? And it was very basic. It had a AA battery that would go inside it. And it could only hold about, I think it was 256 megabytes. Maybe even 64 megabytes.
Oh,
So like,
those were the days.
yeah. So Backstreet Boys. Yep.
Everybody. Yeah. Rock your body. I'm so sorry for all the listeners.
This song
okay?
got really popular again, recently because of Instagram and TikTok, actually.
Yeah.
So
a lot of songs did.
a lot of songs, yeah.
All right, so I'm looking at you, Katia. So what's your...
So when I was a teen, I was really into rock music, like 3 Days Grace, Billy Talent. Oh my God, loved all of that. So
I still love Billy Talent.
Oh, he's great, yeah. And it was funny because when I was 13, I got into a new school, away from my ghetto to a really nice school with nice people. And a classmate of mine, she kind of introduced some music to me, and that was escape, or rather escape. It's a Spanish band, in the ska style. And it was kind of,
reggae ska. Yeah.
So it was more of a ska than reggae. So, and the thing is that when you listen to that, it was really energizing. So, and we would just learn the lyrics, having absolutely zero knowledge of Spanish whatsoever. And we would, walk around the school and just sing the songs. So, and later, when I actually started learning Spanish, I'm like, wait a second, I used to listen to that. OMG. So I found, how you listen to a song, you have no idea what it's about. So, and then you actually find out what it's about. And then
You got disappointed.
Yeah. But in this case, I was kind of shocked because, the music is so energizing, but they sing about the inequality, the greedy politicians, the Holocaust and all that. And I'm like,
actually, a lot of songs are misunderstood. because of the catchy and energetic tune, a lot of songs are misunderstood.
And I was like, damn, that's some serious music. I still love them though. Like they have really deep ideas, even though they haven't been performing for like years and years and years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're looking at
Yeah,
me
I'm
now.
looking at you.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you.
Well, I guess when I was a teenager, I already liked rock music. I guess I took over my father because he used to listen to Russian rock, like Nautilus, Кинул.
Oh yeah,
Things like
Nautilus
this.
is, yeah. I saw posters for Nautilus. I don't know if maybe they were coming to Novosibirsk. I can't remember. But
They don't exist as this band anymore, I guess, because the frontman formed another group,
Yeah.
another band. Yeah, and well, I listened to when I was a kid. I listened to what my parents used to listen because my father had this big like acoustic system,
Yeah.
and well, I just couldn't escape.
Yeah.
And
Well, you know, that's not the bad music to
It is a good
listen to. Yeah,
type of
so
music.
that's-
Yes, so I guess it kind of
You were a lucky dog.
formed me. Also Vysotsky, if you know.
Yeah, Vladimir
Who he
Vysotsky,
was.
yeah.
That's what the Beatles, Pink Floyd, that's what he liked. And so I guess it kind of formed me as a person who loves rock music in any subgenre of rock music,
Yeah.
almost
Wow.
any subgenre.
I have a question.
Yeah,
very
go on.
quick one. So we kind of have touched upon the genres and everything, and there is one genre which I don't know how to explain and how to translate that. So maybe you'll be able to help. Because in Russia we have the genre as chanson,
Yes.
but it's different from the French one where it's actually originated. So, and usually I have no idea how to explain that. Like, it's not really prison music, although it does
It's a
have.
criminal subgenre. I mean, I was going to get on to talking about different genres in the.
You have a
but
special
let's
section
we
for
can-
this.
but nonetheless, we can talk about chanson. So chanson, I would say it's like a criminal sub-element, or it has an element of criminality to it. It's something. Well, it was. When did it come about? In the 90s,
I guess
Yes,
earlier.
early
yeah.
80s,
Earlier.
90s,
Yeah.
but not before the 80s.
And of course,
No idea.
most musicians were not really prisoners.
Yeah, like Mikhail Krug. I mean, absolutely amazing artist. I mean, this
That's
person.
how Benjamin learned some of his Russian.
Seriously, his songs are really good, and he never went to prison. I don't believe he ever went to prison, but he.
The reason why I remembered about that is that my dad used to my dad loved this music. And I remember once we had a road trip from Yakutia to Novosibirsk, 6 days in a car. And when you're traveling throughout Russia, you know, especially
Yeah.
if it's 2011, you can't really listen to the radio because there is no reception.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere.
But we did have 1 or 2 CDs with chanson. So we had no choice but to listen to that for 6 days straight.
The reason why I love his songs is because, well, the music, the instruments are really gaudy. What I mean by gaudy, it's like they're really tacky. They're not very. They just have this kind of synth sound to it. They sound quite cheap, but I love it, and it's just I love the sound of his lyrics are really intelligent.
I've always been interested how you were introduced to Mikhail Krug songs. Who gave you this imprinting?
Good question, because obviously I did not, having no Russian family, I never had a family member introduce Mikhail Krug to me, but I think I came across him when I went to Krasnodar back in 2013.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and I saw, I think I must have seen him on TV or something, definitely probably heard him on a bus journey or something. I don't know, but I love his songs. They're so intricate. There's so many words to learn from it.
I guess we have even special TV channels, radio channels, which are specializing in chanson.
Yeah. But
They're broadcasting.
He is a
chanson.
gem, and I bought some CDs of his, and I brought them back to the UK, and sometimes I would borrow my parents' car to drive because I didn't have a car in the UK, and I borrowed their car, and I left his CDs in my parents' car, and they were driving one day, and I think they said, what is this crap? What are we listening to? But I think it's amazing. It's gold. Maybe if you just listen to it for the sound, maybe you might not enjoy it. I don't know.
Maybe you just have good memories connected to his songs, and that's why.
Yeah. But yeah, I said I bought CDs. So I actually helped Mr. Michael Krug, even though he's unfortunately dead. He was killed by burglars, I think it was in 2002.
Probably helped his widow.
So it probably helped his widow. But unfortunately, and I definitely play a part in this, a lot of music is illegally downloaded.
I know.
So what are the effects on musicians of music piracy and downloading?
You know, I don't think they're actually affected that much. Because, you know, if back in the day they used to get a lot of their income from selling the CDs, the vinyl, whatever, now it's the age of digital things. So I still think they get some sort of money from the streaming services. Like, you know, we have the SoundCloud, we have the Spotify and everything. Because people do not really buy anything these days. I mean, we do pay for the subscriptions. And I guess they get, you know, some sort of interest from that. But I remember reading an article about some music industry and some of the musicians claiming that we don't care if our music gets pirated because we get more from the concerts, from fans, from selling the merch.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say that. There are other forms of earning money.
Exactly. So which means that the amount of money they will lose by people pirating is unnoticeable. It's insignificant.
And kind of compensated with other forms of income.
Probably major music labels lose more money when people download music illegally.
Yeah, I mean, to be very honest, I don't feel guilty when I download an MP3 from YouTube.
I don't either.
Yeah. But a lot of people say, well, not a lot of people, but some people say that it's irresponsible, it's rude, it's not supporting the music industry. What do you say?
You are stealing from someone's pocket. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
please.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's usually the conglomerates who say that, you know, like you have your billions, relax.
Well, there was this musician called Beck. I don't know if you've heard of Beck.
Oh, I love one of his songs, Loser. I used to sing it.
Yeah.
I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Not exactly a great song, but, you know,
But recently,
I know Beck.
A few years ago, he released not a song, but he released the musical score for a song so people could play his song. And he didn't even release his song himself. So it was kind of almost like a pioneer almost in a way of distributing his music. It wasn't via his own recordings or via record label, but via, people being able to play it themselves. So, but people I think could buy that score. So, yeah. So, anyway.
Anyway, we illegally download.
Yeah, we illegally download. And
remember the joke, like, are you an RR pirate or a yo-ho-ho pirate? I'm not paying for my music, pirate.
I remember I had a friend actually. He, back in the day of, do you know LimeWire?
Yes.
LimeWire, okay, so it's not a torrent, it is a torrent platform. This was popular back in the 2000s, at least in the UK and in the West. LimeWire was this platform where you could legally download torrents and music. And I had a friend who downloaded a lot of illegal music. And one day the police knocked on his door.
Wow.
I couldn't
This is
believe
only
it.
possible in the Western world.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I could imagine that happening in the US, in the UK.
Most people would not
Here.
have the police knocking on their door for illegally downloading music, but I think he downloaded an extremely large quantity.
So they kind of thought that he might be redistributing that
Perhaps.
to somebody else.
I can't remember the fine details because it was a while ago. But yeah, his parents got like a fine of several £1,000s.
I know it's still a case, you know, in the US, if you download a lot of things like illegally or something, well, at least when you're, let's say, on your campus territory. So since all of that traffic goes, you know, through the campus and everything. So I know about some people who were downloading the films or something like that. And then they got a visit from the campus police saying, you know what, you can't really do that. So please stop unless we'll have to report that to the authorities.
Yeah.
So
wait. So the police had, I guess, access to their ISP, the internet service provider.
well, I mean,
Maybe.
when you're on campus, you know, you all use one Wi-Fi. So
Yeah.
I guess so. I guess they do have access to all that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you use VPN, then it's another story. Then
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. All right, guys. Well, let us know if you like to download music illegally.
We won't tell
Yeah,
anyone.
it's okay. I don't think the Russian government prosecutes people for downloading music illegally. I mean, maybe they do, but I don't know. So yeah, let's talk about concerts. Have you ever been to a rock concert
Yeah.
or to any musical
Yeah,
concert?
a couple of times, yeah.
Yeah, go on, tell us which ones.
I was in B2 concert and
Oh.
Звери concert. Like it was recently. Before I had been to some other concerts, but it's the most recent experience of mine.
So I guess I've heard of Zveri. It means what, beasts, doesn't it?
Kind of. Or
Yeah.
animals, I would say. But
Yeah.
there is the group, the Animals,
Yeah.
which dates back to maybe the 1970s. And
Yeah.
it is maybe British. I'm not sure, maybe American. But Звери, yeah. They're like pop rock.
Yeah.
Very, very, very light version of
Yeah.
rock.
So are they kind of wild rockers? Do they?
No, they are actually pretty intellectual and calm.
Oh, that's funny because a lot of rockers were absolute animals. Not just the name of their band.
I
but
guess
they
it
were,
depends on the subgenre of rock because rock is big. It's like an umbrella.
So are you familiar with Keith Moon? So there's this band called The Who. I never really listened to them, but they were big, I think, in the 60s. And Keith Moon was like the epitome of a rock star. He was the drummer for this band. And the band made a lot of money, very famous all over the West. And he would go absolutely wild at concerts. And he was always like absolutely messed up with drugs and alcohol. And he would do all sorts of things. But even more notably was what he did in his hotel rooms. You can buy his biography. It's a really interesting, hilarious biography. But his hobby was buying dynamite and putting it in toilets and hotel rooms and exploding the toilets. And he's
Bizarre.
and he was banned from a lot of hotels. Definitely read it up on his Wikipedia page. Keith Moon, Keithmoon. Really interesting, really funny. And I would have loved to have gone to one of his concerts. But apparently one of his concerts, he was so drunk and so out of it on drugs that he couldn't play the drums. And the band invited a member of the audience to come on the stage and to finish the drum set for him.
I think it's such a lot of disrespect.
It is disrespect. It is, I mean, to be honest, it is funny. But it's a huge amount of disrespect.
It's funny when you read about it, probably, but when you paid and when you were waiting, well, it depends on what you were waiting for, of course, but...
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It is disrespectful. I guess in hindsight, it's absolutely hilarious. But if you're actually there... Phrase. Yeah, in hindsight, yeah. So in hindsight means when you're looking back at the past. So yeah. So tell me, what other concerts have you been to?
Pop concerts in the Philippines by some pop bands. And I remember one when it was my birthday. So I paid for the tickets to my friends. We had a really good fun because back then I was that kind of person. Although now I hardly ever go to concerts. I only go to free concerts. Unless it's Christina Aguilera, then it's a different story. I'll definitely pay for that.
Yeah, Christina Aguilera. How much do you think she charges for concert tickets?
I would imagine it really exorbitant. I mean, although she's not a big name, I guess, anymore today, but
still, I would expect like several $100s.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, several hundred. Would you pay several $100s to go to a concert?
Depends on who.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, 50 cents or
50 cents is the amount of money I'd pay.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I think it depends. If I'm, let's say, somewhere in the US, like on a big place and that's somebody really famous, yeah, sure, why not?
Who would you pay for with that kind of amount?
Well, I mean, if I had a chance to go to a 3 Days Grace 2007 edition, totally would pay for that. Mm-hmm. But those times are gone, so I don't know. I would kind of like to visit at least, like any concert by this point of anyone famous.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes ask my students what concert they would like to visit if they could, no matter if the person is now dead or alive. For example, I would like to visit Queen's concert.
Yeah.
Oh, that beat everything.
But it's not possible
Well,
anymore?
actually, no, they are still performing, even though, in a different.
It's not the same.
I have a friend who's a huge fan of Queen.
Queen. Yeah.
And they were recently performing in the UK, and she flew all the way from Canada to the UK, and she visited 14 out of 15 gigs they were given in the UK.
Oh, wow.
So 14 concerts she's
Quite
been
expensive, isn't it?
Wow.
Well, what is money to a fan, And the thing is that they made it so she was not traveling alone. So she was with some friends, and they were all wearing Argentina t-shirts. They were not from Argentina. They are from like Canada and other countries. And they were always coming first. So they were in the front row, right there at the stage. So if you look at the photos from any of the gigs from the UK, she's there.
She's a Argentinian queen.
So really, she's a huge fan.
Yeah. My favorite concert I went to, really lucky, I got a ticket to, Gorillas.
Yeah,
Of
sure.
course.
Absolutely love them. Amazing.
They are
But-
cool, and Damon Albarn is cool.
Yeah, he's a very cool
and
guy.
Blur is also a cool
Yeah,
band.
his voice is amazing. Yeah, and Blur, exactly. He was originally in Blur.
Yeah.
But it was quite interesting because I didn't actually see any of them. It was an electronic concert, so they were hiding behind the stage somewhere.
Their concept, it's their concept. And
Yeah.
Damon Albarn was the first person who introduced such a band.
Yeah, it's like an electronic digit animation on the
characters.
stage. And it was amazing. Saw it in Camden Town in London, as you know, Katya.
Oh,
And it
it's
was-
the mecca for all the quirky people.
Yes,
Say.
exactly. Camden Town is,
Love
if you
Camden.
can describe it in one word, I'd say goth, because there's so many goths there. And
I
so-
wouldn't. I'd say it's
You would-
just quirky.
Oh, it is quirky.
Like I mean, goth.
For sure.
It's,
There's so many
I wouldn't
goths there.
limit it to that. I mean, what about all the punks?
Yeah. Or
with the
punk
mohawk
goths,
and
yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
I don't
emo.
know. No, Camden is just way more than that. Oh God. I love
Obviously, it
this
is
place.
way more than just goths, but yeah.
Every time I I've been to London 3 times. Every time I spend most of my time in Camden, I just love the atmosphere and the vibe.
Yeah.
Kind
No.
of, you kind of go in there. You're like, I'm gonna fit no matter what.
Yeah. Well, a lot of musicians play concerts around that area. So yeah. What about musicals? Have you guys ever? I hate musicals.
Really? I can't believe
Yeah.
it.
You know what? I do not like musicals at all.
Yeah.
So TV shows that are musicals, no, not my thing. Absolutely not. But I once visited the Phantom of the Opera,
Yeah.
and it is a musical,
It
isn't
is.
it?
It is.
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
I loved it. I absolutely loved
In
it.
English,
Yeah.
because
yeah.
I visited it in Russian in Moscow when it was first released, and I also loved it.
I don't know why. Maybe it was also, the influence of the place I was at, because it was in London as well,
Yeah.
But I just loved it.
I remember my school had a trip to the Phantom of the Opera, the musical, and in the theatre. I don't know if you have this in Russia, but in England, in some theatres, you can find little binoculars. You have to put like 10p or 50p.
Oh, it's £1.
Or
now.
£1, probably more now. And there's these little binoculars that are stored under the seats, and you put a coin into the receiver or whatever it is, and you can get the binoculars. And I was watching the Phantom of the Opera with my schoolmates, and I was so bored. And I had
Wow.
a pen with me, and I was so impressed with what I did. I had the pen, and I took the pen lid, and I put it inside the coin slot for these binoculars. I got some free binoculars.
Criminal.
Yeah, I put the binoculars back, but yeah, that was the only thing I
And
remembered.
since that time, you hate musicals. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ken, tell me
They're
about your
actually
favorite.
really interesting. I love the sound of music. If I'm not mistaken, it's a movie musical from the 1960s with Julie Andrews.
Yeah.
The hills are alive with the sound of music. And if you know, doe, a deer, a female deer, it's from that movie musical. They're very interesting. And also it comes with a story. So it's not just all about music.
Yeah, I'm not hating on people who like musicals. It's just not my cup of tea.
Oh, well.
But yeah,
Do people actually say that?
I say it. A lot of people do say it.
Okay.
Yeah, you could say it's not my cup of tea.
All right.
Yeah, it is. I guess
was
you're asking
talking-
that because it sounds a bit stereotypically English. Like, there's some idioms that we do not use. For instance, it's raining cats and dogs. I mean,
Because I recently heard somewhere that, usually people would just, these days, rather say, It's not my thing.
Yeah.
You can say
I'm
it's not my
into it.
thing.
Like, I'm not into it.
You can say that as well. Yeah. You said that with a British accent. I love it. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go into genres, individual genres. We talked about Russian chanson, classical music.
Do love it.
Yeah.
I actually remember. So I don't know much about it. So, but I remember a couple of years ago, before the pandemic, those pre-pandemic days. So I was working at Wellesley College, at the Department of Russian Language. And we had a field trip to Boston Opera House. And thank God I had an amazing department. They paid for our tickets, And the man who was performing, his name was Danil Trifonov, and he is a genius, no less. So, and he's one of very few people who can actually perform Rachmaninoff's Concerto No. 3 with orchestra, and that's what he played that night. And that was the first time in my entire life when I was listening to classical music and crying. Like, I couldn't hold the tears. And the way I was mesmerized by the way his fingers were moving, it was as if he didn't have any bones,
You're just gliding.
So, yeah, and again, this is Rachmaninoff. Not many musicians in the world can play that so effortlessly that he seemed to do. So I was just shocked.
Yeah, I don't frequently listen to classical music, but I love it, and it is.
I guess it's the basic thing. And a lot of rock musicians incorporate classical music into their songs. For example, I adore Muse. I really do. I love them so much. And I guess that Matthew Bellamy's favorite composer is probably Rachmaninoff. I'm not very good at names of classical composers, but I guess that it's Rachmaninoff.
Well, Russia produced a lot of good composers.
Yeah, and he incorporates these elements into his rock songs, ballads, and so on, and it sounds so good.
Oh, I love when people do that.
Yeah. Are you a classical guy?
I wouldn't say so, but I appreciate every time somebody plays it, and then I just listen to it. Although I wouldn't do it myself, like play it for me to listen to.
Yeah.
I would go to a classical music concert.
Yeah, me too.
I have been
actually.
a couple of times. It was okay. It was pleasant.
Yeah.
For example, I have a friend, and her husband is he plays the violin. He is actually a programmer, but also he plays a violin, which is interesting. And he gives concerts sometimes, and I have been to. Yeah. And I have another friend, and her husband is a guitar player, professional. He earns money from playing the guitar and from teaching other people to do it. And I have been to his concert. They were doing Beatles covers and classical music as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My favorite classical musician has to be Beethoven, for sure. What was so interesting is how Beethoven and Mozart knew each other. So interesting.
I'm really bad with the timeline, of all of them.
I do recognize the names, but the specific work that they've done, or they did, can't name any.
Well, Moonlight Sonata. Yeah, that's the most famous one.
That's
a
classic.
Yeah, the different symphonies as well. Yeah. Let's move. Well, so we've talked a lot about rock. What about heavy metal? Are you a fan of heavy metal, Maria?
I wouldn't say so. Yeah. No, I wouldn't.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that the genre where there's a lot of screaming?
That's
necessarily.
Deathcore.
Well, heavy metal was probably derived from hard rock, which had derived from rock. So it's like all the line.
I actually love heavy metal and all that. I don't really like the songs where there's a lot of growling, as they call it.
Yeah, growling, yeah.
Because then you're just like, I have no idea what is being
heavy metal is fine, but black metal, speed metal, it's maybe too hard to my liking.
Yeah.
I just don't see it as music.
I had some friends at school who loved, actually it was just really two friends at school who listened to deathcore music, and it was just every time they would have it in their headphones and you just hear all this growl and oozing.
I have to say though, I have been through a phase in my teenage years when I used to listen to that.
Yeah.
Now I just, looking back, I'm like, oh, how? So it was a phase.
It is quite funny, and the names of the bands are absolutely hilarious. There was this one band my friend listened to. It's called Dying Fetus. It was just
Really creative, I must say.
Yeah, it was the absolute worst name for, or best worst name for a band.
Oh, God.
Yeah. What about hip hop and rap? Are you
Well,
aficionados of hip hop and rap?
Maybe not the pure genre, but a mixture. I guess, for example, I like 21 Pilots. They are electronic hip hop, soft rock, something, a mixture. And let's say, that's it maybe. Well, Eminem is good. He is really good.
Eminem really is good.
You know, I think that these days it's kind of hard to distinguish between the genres.
Yeah, it is blurred.
Yeah.
True.
So
But there are many
people do
different
not-
subgenres of hip hop and rap, and I'm in no way an expert.
I think that, musicians these days try not to limit themselves to one or two genres. So they just create whatever the genre
But
is.
then there are special people who
tell them,
who
okay,
categorize.
so you sing in this genre.
Yeah, you fall into this category or you don't.
Well, yeah, that's how subgenres are formed. They organically shoot out of other genres, like dubstep
Yeah, and
came from dub, which came from reggae, which
Oh my
came from
God.
ska.
a lot of musicians also experiment. They develop throughout their career, and they can start from, let's say, some hard genres, and then they can become softer. And some fans accuse them of doing this.
Others even
you have
jump
disappointed
from one
me.
genre to another. I mean, sorry for mentioning Taylor Swift, but from country music to pop music.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's fueled
Well,
by
Gorillaz.
money, but-
Gorillaz is like the epitome of that. They've mushed together so many different genres, from rap to reggae to pop to everything, really.
Even the Beatles experimented a lot.
Yeah.
They can't be seen as just a rock and roll band.
They went to
No.
India and they played around with the sitar, which is that Indian guitar.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, with
So what was the question?
so rappers and hip hop, they kind of inspire a lot of violence in modern society. I don't know if that should be censored or not. Do you guys think it should be censored?
Censorship in art is a very difficult question.
Mm-hmm.
But also, then again, what is art? And I think that art should not be censored. It's just wrong. It sounds wrong. Every person should judge for themselves, should understand.
Well, in England, and in America, there's a big problem with people stabbing each other and shooting each other.
I don't
and-
think that music is the problem in
I
this
don't think
case.
it
It's
is.
like we can't
Yeah.
blame video games for
Exactly.
or violent
this, or-
films,
yeah.
for instance.
This is not my opinion. I do not believe that we should blame violence on it. But a lot of people, well, particularly when the Columbine shooting happened many years ago, a lot of people blamed Marilyn Manson for this kind of violence.
Instead of blaming neglect and everything, they just went the easy way.
Yeah. Well, guys, let us know in the comments if you feel that rap music should be censored in some ways. Do you feel it's responsible for a lot of,
Violence.
decay and violence in society? I mean, there's a lot of fun rap out there, which is absolutely horrible. And they talk about absolutely deplorable subjects. Like, I'm not going to go into detail. I'm sure you guys can use your imagination.
But there is also
But-
a lot of intellectual rap,
yeah,
which is
but-
kind of new poetry.
and socially relevant that discuss, real issues in society.
Yeah. And some people say that it can help young troubled youth it can distract them from committing crimes.
I think it's not the genre that's the problem per se, but the content. What are they singing or rapping about? It's more about the topic. I mean, the theme of the song more than the genre itself.
Yeah. I mean, it can sometimes be used as propaganda to get people to do stuff.
Well,
I still don't think it should be censored, but some people think it should be. So, yeah. What about other electronic genres? Do you guys ever listen to house music, to club music?
Sometimes, for example, Daft Punk, I guess they are electronic, and electronic some kind of electronic music guys from France. Unfortunately, they stopped existing a year ago, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. I used to be a big fan of house music. There's so many subgenres of house as well.
And electronic music, I guess, I might be wrong, but I guess it started in France. That's interesting, but I guess like Jean-Michel Jarre probably was one of the first in this field.
Yeah. There's actually quite a lot of good music that comes out of France, electronic and not electronic.
Also, a lot of good music comes from Scandinavian countries.
Mm-hmm.
Sweden.
Oh,
Norway,
ABBA.
for example. Aha.
Yeah.
I like Aha, and they come from Norway. Or some rock bands, like, for example, do you guys know Nightwish?
Oh, yeah.
Like symphonic rock kind
I
of
loved
thing.
it in the previous, before the, oh God, what's her name? Before she left the...
Tyra Turunen, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I'm not sure
something
how
like
to
that. Yeah,
pronounce
yeah.
this. Sorry, difficult Scandinavian
I
names.
loved Nightwish before she left.
Mm-hmm. And what other genres? K-pop.
I'm not a fan of K-pop.
I don't really know
I see
anything.
that it's like a huge thing these days, you know.
It's funny because I used to be a big fan of it when I was in the Philippines. I thought that K-pop was superior to American pop because it just has this, vibe. Like even the instruments that they probably use, they're of better quality. But right now, of course, I'm aging.
Yeah.
So I will quote him. That's not my cup of tea anymore, or that's not my thing anymore.
Yeah.
I think K-pop is really popular, among, like teenagers, late teens, early 20s.
Right.
Like that, in my opinion.
I know a lady, a lady who's in her 40s and she likes K-pop, and she also likes Korean soap operas, or I don't know what we call them. Yeah. And I just asked her why, and she explained that when she feels down, when she feels very bad and miserable and so on, and nothing else can make her feel better, this is Korean pop and Korean TV series that help her. They are uplifting, she said.
Yeah.
I don't know, I haven't checked it for myself.
Yeah. Well, my favorite genre as a kid, well, not as a kid, as a 18-year-old, I'd say, 17, 18-year-old, was reggae dub. Because in London, there was this huge subculture of reggae music. Do you know much about dub culture? So
reggae is Bob Marley, yeah?
Yeah, but
okay.
Bob Marley is, it's old school stuff. So in London, there are several clubs where you can go to with huge speakers, huge sound systems, and you have dub music is all about the bass tracks that come from reggae. And it was so fun. These dub nights, they're called, not dubstep, but dub nights. They would go from midnight till 6 a.m, and it was really fun. You would just spend the whole night allowing these big speakers to just reverberate you, and it was really fun. So that was my favorite genre. Well,
cool.
So let's wrap this up. So what would the world be like without music?
Boring.
Yeah.
Impossible.
Silent.
Colorless.
Silent.
Yeah, silent. And where do you think music is going to go in the future? What do you think our grandchildren are going to listen to?
You see, I'm worried about that because now I think I'm at a particular age when I start to hate, modern music because I can't relate to it, unlike the songs that I used to listen to.
I think that's only natural, for one generation to hate the music of the next one.
Exactly.
So that's inevitable. They're just going to listen to their music, whatever that is. And that's it. But I'm pretty sure that no matter how many centuries later, Queen is still going to be a thing.
It's still Queen.
Queen is the queen. I mean, I feel that music might get so minimalist that people might just be listening to elastic bands and and metal clinking against metal.
Music
that's
made
what
by
ASMR is
AI.
for,
Yeah, so it will become very primitive. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I don't know. Let us know in the comments, guys, what you think.
I mean, you can listen to a cat sounds and think it's music.
Well, another thing, a second conditional sentence that we need to finish off with. if you could listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be?
It depends how long the rest is. I guess if it is like
How many more years have you
5
got?
minutes, then it's one thing. That if it is many years, I would probably choose something uplifting. And once I asked my students this, and if my life could go on for many years, I would probably listen to one of Robbie Williams' songs. Maybe The Road to Mandalay, because it's really uplifting and the tune is catchy and he's nice. He has a good voice. So probably this, not Radiohead songs, because if I chose Radiohead, I would
Eternal depression.
or I would commit suicide in 5 minutes. Something.
I mean, it's cliche for me to say one of Christina Aguilera's songs, but on top of my head, I would say Climb Every Mountain from the movie musical The Sound of Music. It's inspiring. It allows you to dream big and to try to reach for your dreams. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, but I'd rather go with something that is truly inspiring.
Yeah.
I would go with something uplifting and energizing. So that's why I have no idea who sings that, but there is a song which is called Vivir mi vida, which is a salsa song. So, that's why you kind of want to dance when you listen to that. I love this song since the first day that I, had my first salsa class.
Oh, cool.
So what about you?
So I know it's quite a strange choice, but I love the Grand Theft Auto theme song, the theme melody to Vice City. I don't know if you guys know this, but
it's a game of my teenage years.
It's amazing, and the music they designed for this video game series was absolutely amazing.
It's just the music, no
just
lyrics.
The melody, no lyrics, no lyrics. And Grand Theft Auto 3 has an amazing melody as well. So I've listened to both of those.
I remember seeing a post that try do your ordinary things, have a walk or something with a Sims soundtrack. It kind of feels like you're living in some sort of, utopia or something.
Yeah.
So that reminded me of that.
Yeah. Well, guys, by the way, so for our listeners, we have a special podcast chat, and you can find more information about this on our social media platforms. So if you want to discuss this topic or any other podcast topic, definitely do reach out to our special chat. And also you can check out our website, which is www.bigappleschool.com, where you can find more information about the courses we offer and other interesting articles and podcasts like this one. So we'll see you next time. Thank you. And
Thank you.
bye for now.
See you around.